There was some issue with the sign up actually, but finally I will do the sign up. Okay, I hope you all can see me too. So, Satakshi, do you want to say something or can I get started now?
Yeah, I will introduce. So, hello everyone. Thank you for attending the session. And we have our main speaker, our guest, Mr. Pankaj Rai, with us, and he will be guiding you through the Compose camp. So, he can start now. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. So, hey everyone, I'm Pankaj Rai. I'm GDE for Android and Firebase. I have around 7.8 years of experience in app development. And today I'm really so excited to talk with all of you today, where the overall objective for me is once this session is done, all of you who is attending this session will able to create Android app or at least to get started with Android app. So how many of you are joining through your laptop? Because the session which I'm going to deliver for this next 2 hours will be great if you could join through laptop instead of mobile. So is it like all of you are joining through laptop or there are few who are joining through mobile too? If you have joined through mobile, then please switch to laptop because this session is going to be an interactive session. It will be very useful if you could join through laptop. Okay, so I believe you might have gone through the web also to search about Compose. What is Jetpack Compose? So before I could talk about what is Jetpack Compose, why we have Jetpack Compose, what's an issue with the existing one, do anyone want to comment out that what have you gone through about Jetpack Compose, or have you seen that what it is, why do we use Jetpack Compose, or any thought regarding this? No one has searched anything. It's declarative UI framework for Android by Omar, correct? So it is a declarative UI framework. And the basic difference between imperative and declarative programming is that in declarative, you just say that what do you want. You don't say how to do those things. And we are going to see all those things soon in this session itself. So let me get started with why do we need Jetpack Compose? Well, when I started app development, during that time we were using Eclipse, and the programming language that was widely used was Java. So there were major constraints with Eclipse, especially when you have to set up the project or running emulator, debugging. All those things were not that straightforward. So Google came up with Android Studio. And when we switched from Eclipse to Studio, the experience that we had to create app was seamless. Whatever features, functionality that's provided by Android Studio was really great to create applications. But that was about the IDE. How about the language? So how many of you are aware about the Java programming language in your college days or in school days if you have learned about Java, or no one has learned about Java so far? No Java so far? Well, in your college days, I believe you will have either C, or Java. Probably majority of the college have C, C++. Few may be teaching about Java, Python too. But the Java is really one of the great language. You should really have an understanding of the object-oriented programming language features and a bit of knowledge in Java too. But today, it's not about Java. It's about Jetpack Compose with Kotlin. So a few years back, Google has introduced Kotlin as an official programming language for Android app development. Earlier it was just Java, but now it is with Java and Kotlin, where the best support is provided through Kotlin. So Google has given support for better IDE, a very developer-friendly language, Kotlin. Now, how about the UI toolkit? The UI toolkit was an age-old toolkit on which Google was continuously giving updates. It was a time to update that toolkit also so as to provide an environment where developers can create UI with as minimum effort as possible. Jetpack Compose is all about that. It is created with the Kotlin language itself. It's a modern UI toolkit for Android app development, where the correct term, if I say, then it is Compose UI for Android. And Jetpack Compose is not limited to Android. With this, you can create Android apps, desktop apps, and even web apps. Support for iOS is still not available, and not sure whether this will be available or not. There are a few third-party sources through which you can create iOS app also using Jetpack Compose, but there is no official support for iOS as of now. The official support is only available for Android, desktop, and web. Now, just imagine this. With learning Jetpack Compose, you will have an ability to create Android app, software for your desktop, like Windows machine or Mac machines, and even if you want to create your websites, all through Jetpack Compose. Now, as I said that Kotlin is a programming language that we are going to use here. So the prime thing is that what Kotlin offers that Java doesn't have. It's a very obvious case that if Google is coming up with, say, a new programming language as an official language, it really doesn't mean that Java is no longer an official language. For app development, for Android app development specifically, Java and Kotlin, they both are official programming language. But it's so obvious that Kotlin should have something that's not available with Java, which made Google to announce this as an official language for Android app development. So do any one of you here have gone through Kotlin before, or have searched about Kotlin, what is Kotlin, or created any program with this programming language? No? Omkar has done it. Vinayak heard for the first time. Palak, no. Dhruv, yes. So great. So there are a few yes too. So why did you use Kotlin? For what reason? Is it for creating some program means application or just a non-program? Chetna is saying no, so they have you yes. Latest tutorial on app development are in Kotlin, correct. So as I said, Kotlin is something which Jetpack Compose is built with. It's an obvious case that Kotlin is the future for app development too. Well, Kotlin is a very, very developer friendly language. I think my slide got missed out, so that's not the correct one. I'll say about the Kotlin. So Kotlin is an object-oriented programming language, and it gives lots of great feature to the developer. Extension function, higher order function, object creation, variables, all those things are extremely easy with Kotlin. Now, what do I want is that scan this QR code and head to this website, because we are going to do some exercise with Kotlin. And ping yes that you have opened this website once you are ready with this. Because we are going to have an hands-on with Kotlin, And this is where I'm even going to talk about the syntax and the features of Kotlin. So you guys just need to switch between the tabs. One tab, keep it open for writing a program, and again switch back to this so that you could see the syntax. Let me also comment this Kotlin playground. Okay, I'm also typing it in the comment section. You can tab on this. So Vatsal, I have a question that why we should use Kotlin. Instead of Kotlin, we have Flutter, which is on cross and platform. Correct. So Flutter is for cross platform app developments. So with Flutter, you can create app for Android, iOS, and web. But that's for the cross platform app development. If you have to create the native apps, then Flutter is not going to help there. Eventually, the binary that it generates is something which is quite less in size as compared to other cross-platform app development tool, but the look and feel, the features that's provided through the native side comes to the native app first, and then cross-platform app frameworks adopt those things. So if you are looking for cross-platform app development, Flutter is really good. But if you're looking for the native app development, then it's Jetpack Compose or the Existing UI toolkit. Well, Kotlin also have a cross-platform, correct? That is with KMM, but the major advantage that you get with Flutter is that you have a single code base which runs on all three platforms, which is not true with KMM. KMM is like you have a separate section for Android, iOS, or for desktop, and there is a common section. And then you need to manually write code base for these things. Common comes to common modules, for rest of them in individual modules. Okay, so shall I get started with the next slide? Are you guys ready? I hope all of you might have opened this page. Yes. So let's move on to the next one. So our main target is to know about Jetpack Compose. So the Kotlin feature also that I'm going to talk about is something which is similar to what you're going to see with Jetpack Compose 2. I'm not going to cover the entire language. It's all about the basic feature of this language, which will help you to get started with Jetpack Compose. So how do you create a function here? Well, the way to create function in Kotlin is there is a fun keyword, and then name of the function comes next. So fun, name of the function, then parenthesis. Then you'll see that you have braces. Inside the braces, whatever code base which you want to have for the function, you write it there. Something called as function definition. And if you head over to the Kotlin playground, then you might see that there's already something which is already written for you. Function, main, println, hello world. Now at the front side of this, you may see a green arrow on that website. Just hit that green arrow and it will run that program. So you'll see that it will print hello world. In case of C, C++, again, you might be aware about the main function. This function is exactly the same. That's an entry point for this Kotlin program. In Android, we are not going to have function main. It's something else. But here, it's just to showcase that how function is created in Kotlin. I hope it's clear. Fun is a keyword, space, function name. In the parenthesis, you can provide the parameters. We are going to see that too. And then in the braces, you have the function code base, whatever you want to write for a particular function. Now, what do I want is that, as you have already opened this in another tab, so type this and tell me in the chat section that what's going to be the output for this. Well, those who have run this Hello World program, I think without running this code base too, you might able to predict that what could be the output for this. But still, do try it out, type this, and then check out that what's the output that you're going to get. Well, many are thinking about Tuesday. Doesn't look like that you have run this program. Well, that's not the correct answer. What could be the correct answer? Type and provide the answer quickly. Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday, Friday, and Monday. That's the correct answer. So you will see all of them one below the other. If you have noticed something, then there's something called as print ln. Print ln is print next line. So it's print line.
Excuse me, sorry to disturb you. I think your screen is not visible, or it's only the thing that I'm not able to see that.
The screen is not visible for all of you.
I know it's visible, sir.
Okay, visible. Great. I think you need to just refresh it. Join once again. Okay, so great. Print ln, that's for print line. Now just do one thing. Remove ln. Just have print there. So instead of print ln Tuesday, just have print Tuesday, then print Thursday, print Wednesday, print Friday, and print Monday. And see the output that you're going to get. All in one line, correct. So this is a very common approach. If you are aware with Java, then this is taken from there. We have print ln and print there. Print ln is when you want to print for the next line. So what it does is that after every output, it also adds a /n for you. That means a new line. So that the next print line comes in the next line instead of coming all at a single line. Now, can you spot error in this? So as you are aware about print ln, do this function will execute or there is an issue with this? And do not copy and paste this. Do not run this in the editor and see about what's the error that you're going to get there. Print ln, correct. So print ln is wrong there because it is not print line. It is print ln where everything is small case. Well, by the way, what is this case which you can see here? Print line is in which case? There is an appropriate name for this case. This type of case is called as camel case. Altogether, this is wrong. We don't have this function, but if you write this type of function where the first is small and the next word which comes in, they start with the capital letter, that kind of case is called as camel case. Okay, so you have seen the function. Now let's talk about the variable. Variable is really something which is very important, because earlier you were just having the double quotes and giving details in the double quotes directly. But when it comes for the production app, this may not be the case always. You might want to store the value, a very temporal storage. For the execution, once execution is done, release the memory. That's where heap memory comes in, where you have the variable or the object, memory is allocated for that. Until unless it have a memory, you store some value to the variable or the object. You do an operation by reading the value from the variables and the object memory. And then once that is done, the memory gets deallocated. In a similar way, Kotlin also provides an opportunity where you can store values, a temporary storage of values in the variables. It's nothing but the objects. Here, the major difference is how do you create variables or the object? Well, in Java or C or C++, the way you might have seen so far is you have the data type first, and then you provide your values. You provide the name of the object or the variable. Here, this is a bit different. You have val or var, and then you have the object name or the variable name. So if you see towards the left side, then it is val cart total equals to 0. And in the right side, again, you can see that var cart total equals to 0. Now, if you try to write this code again in that Kotlin playground, you will see that when you have val, cart total will not let you to change the value. And the moment you change that val to var, it will allow you to change the value. So you could see in the next line, cart total is reinitialized with a value 20. That means it's updated with the value 20. Earlier it was having 0 value. Now it got updated to value 20. But you may see the red color line there. That's because any object which is created with val cannot be updated. So if you just want to assign a value to an object and then want to reuse that object multiple times, then val is good to use at that place. For example, cart total is really not a good option here to have as a val, because you might want to update the value for cart total. What could be the ideal value for val? The ideal value could be the value which will not change. For example, if you are creating an application for e-commerce or for the Google map, then say if you on the top you want to give a title as map, so the map word is going to be consistent, it's going to be fixed, it's not going to change anytime. So during those time, val is good. So just remember this, whenever you want to keep the value consistent, no update on that, you can use val. Anytime when you want to update the values, then var is the keyword that you have to use. So I hope this is clear. When should you use val and when should you use var? Is it clear now? Great. So let's move on to the next thing. Now this is the task for you. You need to identify the variables in this. So just remember what I said. Val and var objects or the variables is one of the great way through which you store the content for a temporary period of time, and then once the execution is done, memory gets deallocated. So here, what are those dynamic things which you can consider this, that okay, this could be the variable name or the object name? Tab names are val. Okay. So any other thing? What do you think? What could be the variable here? Do you want me to give the hint? Okay, so let me give a hint. Address is where. Okay, so address is where, correct? Address is a variable. Okay, so let me tell this. On top, you may see the image. Okay, rating is where, correct. Address, website, place name, stars. So answer by Brijesh is correct actually. So all those content where you have this content coming up with a key value pair, they are all from the variables. Name of the location, which is on the top. After that, the number of stars, reviews, whether user has saved the bookmark this location or not, address, description about the location, they are all coming through the variable or the object. Okay, good with this. Now let's check out about this variable. So far what you have seen is val and var. Now let's talk about the convention associated with this. You may have the object as var and val. Now after that, what you need to do is you need to have some sort of space. Now the coding convention that I'm going to talk about here is not something which is going to give any sort of error, but this is the convention that is followed in the industry. So if you want to write a program that is readable, then this type of coding convention is really helpful. What you have to do is that whenever you try to create an object or the variable, and you might be thinking about it, why do I'm always saying object and variable? The prime reason for this is that in Kotlin, there's nothing called as variable. It's all about object. And the way you create object transform to either object or variable by the compiler. Okay, so here the moment you type var or val, that's for creation of an object or the variables, you provide some sort of space, then the name of it, again space, equal to the default value. Why the space is needed here is just because of better readability. You can just try it out on your own in that Kotlin training website. Have var, then some space, pet equal to bird with no space. Program will still execute. And then try out with var pet space equal to space bird. The code that you're going to see there, that itself is something which is very visual change. So that makes you to write a better code. Space is really helpful to have a neat and clean code. And the same goes true with a function too. Not all the time the code that you're writing is understandable to other developers. That's the reason we have comment section. Comments are not executed by the compiler. You can write any message here, and during runtime they are all ignored. Now here you can see above function name we have written a multi-line comment. Multi-line comment starts with slash star star. Then you can just hit enter what with the number of lines that you want to write. And to close this multi-line comment, star slash. And then after function main, you may see that there is one more single line comment that starts with double slash. Now when to use comment? So in the previous slide, we have seen that we were giving some sort of space between the name of the variables. The prime reason was to make the code neat and clean. Now we are providing comments. The prime reason of providing comment is to make this code understandable. You don't write code for yourself. You write code so that not just you, but your teammates can also work. By seeing your code base, they need not have to come and ask you that what is written here, what's the logic associated here. You need to write a code in a way where just by seeing your code base, they'll able to understand that, okay, what is written here and why this is written. That's the reason comment are really helpful in those scenarios where you think that this is the point where other developers might face difficulty to understand that why do I have this piece of code here. And on top of function, the prime reason why comments are written is to make other developers, whoever comes in and check out the code, to know that this function does what kind of work. Okay, I think I'm clear about comment, when to use single line, when to use double line, means multi-line. Multi-line is to explain about what this function is doing or the code base is doing. Single line is all about in a one liner, if you can explain what's going on, like you can see here with count, on top of count, create a variable for number of unread messages. With this comment, it is clearly known that you are using count just to understand that how many unread messages are there. Okay, now let's proceed to the next function. So you have seen a function main that was an entry point for the Kotlin code base. Now let's talk about the syntax of this. Fun is the keyword. Name that comes after fun is the function name. And you can have any name here. It's not like you can have, but again, there is a limitation to this, that function name should start with alphabets, underscore. It cannot start with a number. And if you follow the coding convention, then function name should start with small case. So generally, camel case is followed for writing a function name. After that, with the braces, you have the body of the function. Let's check out this. So again, switch back to the Kotlin playground and try to have this function created where you have birthday greeting and have this 2 line of code written there. We are going to reuse that function a lot in the upcoming slides. So this is just a one-time process where you need to write birthday greeting. Once you have the birthday greeting written with print line happy birthday rover, again print line, you are now 5 years old. Write that function name inside function fun main, and then check out at what's happening. Are you getting the output or not? So check this out. Unsolved reference. How are you getting unsolved reference? Okay, no one has completed this so far. So we have function main, inside that birthday greeting. After that function main, we have again function birthday greeting. Inside that we have print ln happy birthday rover, happy, and then you are now 5 years old. Well, no one has tried out so far. Done. So what's the output that you are getting for this? Or error? What are you getting there? Output or error? Output statements written in print line. Great. Now just do one thing. Inside function main, you have written a function that birthday greeting. Just delete that and run the program once again. I think someone wanted to say something. No output. Great. So what could be the prime reason for this? You still have the code base. But earlier, when birthday greeting was written inside fun main, you're getting the output. Now, the moment you deleted that, you still have the code base, but it's not showing any output. So the prime reason for this is for any function where you have the code base written inside that, that's function definition. You need to call that function somewhere. The moment you call that function, then only the part of that function gets executed. Otherwise, it's ignored by the compiler. And that's the reason earlier when you're having birthday greeting written inside fun main, you're seeing the output. But the moment you deleted that birthday greeting inside fun main, you're not seeing any output. Because you have your function, you have the code base written inside function, but that function is not called from anywhere. So calling function is really important. Until unless you call the function, it's not going to get executed. Okay, now let's switch to the next. So far, what we have seen is a very straightforward function. We have fun, function name, empty braces for that, empty parameters, and then braces with a body. Now let's have a bit different kind of function where our function is going to return a value. In case of Java, this is going to be like you provide the return type first, then the function name. When it goes to Kotlin, syntax still remains same. You have fun, function name, then brackets. After bracket, it's colon return type. So colon return type could either be your double, string, int, boolean, all those things you can have there. Again, body remains same, the way you're writing the body. But eventually, it should have a return statement also. Let's check out the example for this. Same birthday greeting sample. Now, earlier we were having just birthday greeting and we're calling that birthday greeting inside fun main. Let's do a bit of change to this. Let's return a string from this function. Now, in order to return string, what we need to do is that we need to do a bit of change to this function. After fun birthday greeting brackets, we need to have colon return type. The return type is string here. So colon string. And then the last line of this function is the return statement. And if you could observe, then we are using the variables like val, not var here. The prime reason is we are not going to change the name greeting or age greeting at any point of time. The values remain sort of constant. You can correlate this with runtime constant. And then you return the value back to the call site. So earlier, birthday greeting was a straightforward call, but now because you are returning string from the function, so you also need to hold that function, means hold that return value to some other variable. And that's where val greeting equals to birthday greeting is written there. Now, do anyone have question on this? That how do we write a function with a return type? And you can try out this code base. You can again reach out to the Kotlin playground, update that birthday greeting with this code base and check out that is it returning the string and you're able to print with println written inside fun main or not. Once the basic understanding of Kotlin is done, then we'll head over to how you can install Android Studio, set up project, and how you can get started with Jetpack Compose too. Okay, now let me head over to the next. How about if you have parameters? So in the bracket after function name, you can provide any number of parameters. The rest of things remain same. Let's check out. So earlier we were just having fun, birthday greeting, and open and close parameters, then colon string. Now after function name, inside bracket, we are having the parameter, and here the parameter is name of string type. So remember, the way we create object here is val object name colon object type. So here when it goes for the function parameter, you can avoid writing val or var because it is always val. So it doesn't make any sense that you have function birthday greeting val name colon string. It completely doesn't make any sense because this name in the parameter cannot be var at any point of time. It's always var. Okay, done with this. So are you guys now comfortable with variable means parameter and without parameter function? Because with Jetpack Compose, you are going to see this a lot. So it's really important to understand about function with parameter. How do you return a value from function and function without parameter too? No message so far. Okay, Brijesh understood it. Great. Okay, so let me move on to the next. Function with multiple parameters. So here you can see that birthday greeting is just having a single parameter with a name. How about if I have more than one? So that we can provide with a comma separated parameter name like this. Name colon string comma age colon int. What it means is that name is a variable of string type, age is of type int. In a similar way, if I have more than this, comma, write any number of parameters. But one strange thing that you might be seeing there is happy birthday dollar name. What's that dollar? Well, this type of string is called a string template. What it means is that if you have the variable or the object which is having a value, if you want to attach that with a string, then you need to do with a dollar sign. What happens is that if I do not have a dollar sign and I directly write name, then you can see that happy birthday name exclamation mark, they are in double quotes. And with double quote, what it means is that it's all string. There's nothing which is dynamic. But the moment you have this special keyword of dollar, it means that rest of other things are the static value, but the one that's coming along with the dollar is a dynamic one. So leave the empty space for this. The moment this value comes in, you put in that value there. So in reality, it means that happy birthday, comma, dash, exclamation. That dash gets fulfilled with the name, which is coming through the parameter. So in string, if you want to provide any sort of values, then you can use with this dollar sign. And this is something called as string template. Now, with respect to the function again, and the prime reason that why I'm talking a lot about function is because with Jetpack Compose, it's all about function. So How about this named argument? So parameters are also called as arguments. In few of the programming languages, you will see that few say this as a parameter, few say this as arguments. What Kotlin offers is that while calling the function, whatever name that you have provided for this function as a parameter name. So say for example, here you have name and age. Now at the call site inside function main, you may see that I am writing name equal to some value, age equal to some value. So that name equal to is nothing but the named argument. This has to be exactly same as the name of parameter that you have provided to the function. But what advantage do you get with this? Why do you even need that? So any thought regarding this? Do you see any privilege of having named argument in any way? If you are the developer, then when do you will use this named argument? What do you think, that should you use named argument or not? What advantage do you see with this? So Ishak is saying make it easy to understand. Aryan is saying yes, then the argument doesn't need to be in a sequence. Well, that's correct. So the two things that comes up with named argument is that it makes your code easy to understand. And the second thing is, when you name the arguments, you can provide them out of order too. For example, in birthday greeting, the first parameter is string and the second parameter is age. So you may see that on top, I am having rex as a string and then 2 as an integer. How about if I do reverse of that? I don't want to provide string first, I'll provide age first and then name. Well, without named argument, it's not permitted. So when you have named argument like this, you can provide the value and value out of sequence. So name and a key and a value pair directly at the call site. So name equals to rex, age equals to 2. This can also be age equals to 2, comma, name equals to rex. This is completely permitted. That's where named arguments are really, really helpful. But we have one more feature associated with this. How about if I don't want to give the age? Well, with the function, the parameters that you have, you need to pass on all the parameters. Otherwise, compiler will give error. So Kotlin offers default arguments. What this means is that while having the function definition, you may provide the default value to the parameter. And in case at the call side that you can see the function main, that I'm no longer providing age while calling birthday greeting. I'm just passing name. So when this happens, it's check out with the function definition that do this function for age is having any default value or not. If it finds the default value, it takes up that value by default. That's why it is called as default arguments. But in case I want to give age from my side, I don't want to rely on the default value, then I'm equally permitted to pass on the age value too. So I can call birthday greeting, name equals to rex, comma, age equals to say 5. If I give the value, then the default value gets replaced with the value that I'm passing. And in case if I don't give the value, then whatever default value is available for the parameter, that gets fetched for the function execution. Okay, so we are coming closer now to see about Jetpack Compose. So far, whatever you have seen was all about Kotlin and the features offered by Kotlin. Now we'll head towards Jetpack Compose. Well, the syntax of Jetpack Compose is way different than what we have as the existing UI toolkit. The composable are a function that contains a piece of code that gets transformed to UI. That means those UI components that you see on UI on the screen that are written inside composable. But how do you differentiate a normal function with composable? So say for example, you have text. You want to show text on UI. That text is nothing but a composable. If you want to show button on UI, again that button is composable. If you want to show image, image is a composable. Any UI element that is shown on UI is composable. And composables are nothing but an ordinary function, just the way you have seen other functions so far. It's normal function which is annotated with @composable. So no rocket science involved here. Composable is a function that contains a part of code that's drawn on UI, and that function is annotated with @composable. Now, one thing which you might observe here is that earlier I have talked about the function naming convention, that the function name should start with small case. Class name starts with a capital case. But here the syntax that you are seeing, with this you may see that I have fun greeting where G is capital case. Why it is in uppercase? Well, just imagine this fact that when you create your Android app, you may have 20, 30, 50, 100, 200, 300 files based on the code base, even beyond that. If you have a normal function and a composable function, and I believe you might have understood the difference. Normal function doesn't have a UI component. That means if that gets executed, nothing is shown on UI. Normal function is just for computation. Composable function is to show UI elements. So just imagine if both follow the same syntax, how difficult this is going to be for developers to correlate that, okay, this function is a composable and the other function is a normal function. So as to differentiate that just by seeing the function name, that okay, this is a composable function and another one is a normal function, we have this kind of notion followed here. Composable name start with capital case, uppercase, and it always have @composable. This is just to indicate that this function is a composable function. And this is how it look like. You can ignore @preview as of now. We'll talk about that later on. But you may see that we have @composable. Inside that we have fun function name. And then we have the greeting with the name Android. On the right side, you may see hello Android. What are all those things? Through hands-on, we are going to see all those. Because by the end of this session, I want all of you to be comfortable in creating at least this small app just to showcase name, image, and to make you get started with app development. But this is how this composable function look like. At that composable, fun, name of a composable, and inside this, you may call any other composable. Here, the greeting is a custom composable. Now, before I head over to the hands-on, the two things that I want to showcase here is how can you load image, and the second one is row and column. Well, majority of the apps that you might have used so far, you might have seen that they are aligned either in top to bottom or from left to right of the screen, either vertical or horizontal. In a similar way, with Jetpack Compose, if you want your UI to come one below the other, say for example, label on top, image after that, button after that, for that you have to use column composable. And in case you want them to appear right in front of each other, like name first, in front of name you want image, in front of image you want button, then you have to use row composable. And we are going to see both of them. Column and row are extensively used composables. And how to load image. So in Android, if you add anything to the drawables, then there is a R file that gets generated for you. And this is done automatically. I'm going to show those directory structure too. So drawable is a folder that's get created for you by default. Any image that you want to show on UI, you have to put those things inside drawable. Now to access that image through your code base, you need to have r.drawable dot name of the image file. Okay, I think I'm clear with this. So shall we head over to the demo now? Okay, let me do that. Okay, now let's get started with how can you install Android Studio. I think I need to, okay, I'll stop sharing and then I'll restart sharing. Entire screen. Okay, now I hope my entire screen should be visible. So what you have to do is that you need to search Android Studio. And those who have laptop, you can carry along with me. On Google, search about Android Studio. After that, you will see developer.android.com, download Android Studio and app tools. Click on that. Once you click that, then you will have this download option. So this is how this website is, which tells you about everything which Android Studio has, almost, which is to get started for the developers. So click on this download Android Studio, and then click on I have read and agreed to the about terms and condition. After that, download Android Studio. Well, I have downloaded it. So once you download this, it's as simple as installing any other software. You just need to click on the exe file. For Mac, we also have an option. Then next, and that's it, done. Once Android Studio gets involved, then you will see something like this. Android Studio looks like. So what you have to do is that you have to click on File. Well, after installing Android Studio, you'll get an option for the new project by default. You need to click on New Project, and then you get these templates. Among this, what you have to do is you need to click on either empty compose activity this or empty compose activity material 3. The major difference between these two is it is with material design and this is with material design 3. And what's difference between both of them? So material design is a design language which is extensively used for Android apps, and material 3 is the new design language. So it's about how to design your Android apps. With material 3, the theme of app is dynamically updated based on the user wallpaper. So you need not to care about the theme of the app with material 3. And this is true for Android 12 and above. For all those devices which is on Android 12 below, means Android 11 and below, they'll see a light bluish color theme. But for all 12 and above, it's pure dynamic. Whatever wallpaper they set, accordingly they see the wallpaper for your app too. So let me select material 3 and click next. After you click next, the next thing is it asks to provide name of the application. And this is a place where you have to provide what your app name is. For example, if you are creating, say, Facebook kind of chat application and you want to name this as chatbook, then you can do that. Even space is allowed it here. Then comes the package name. This is quite important. This makes your app to be uniquely identified. And this generally comes with three notions like com dot something dot whatever comes next. Generally what it goes is that com dot organization dot name of the app without any space. But there is no such convention. You can even have like com dot something. But three notion is quite widely used where com dot organization name dot name of your app. This is simplest way to understand that okay, this package name is associated with this particular app. Now the next major thing is min SDK. If you tap on that, you can see the various version available so far, where the minimum is 21. And once you select that, you may see the worldwide usage of device. That what it means with 98.8% of the device. If I set my minimum SDK version to API level 21, then any user who is running Android Lollipop and above can install my app. So those who are running KitKat, ice cream sandwich, other things, they're not able to install because I'm setting min SDK to 21. And the number 98.8% means that to the worldwide users, if I set my minimum to 21, I reach out to 98.8% devices. That means to this many devices, my app will get supported. In case I change this value to say API level 23, then this value reduces. This means that now I can target 96.2% of the device worldwide. So those who are running Android Lollipop and API level 22, they're not able to install my app because I set my min SDK to 23. In a similar way, if I do for the latest one, you can see it's less than 1% of the device worldwide. So your min SDK version should not be the latest one or one or two before the latest one. It should be as close to the API level 21 because your target audience should always be greater than 90% of the device. So you may target API level 23, 24, 25, but beyond 25 if you see, then you may see less than 90% of the device. So the best thing is, if you want to target majority of the users, you may go ahead with the API level 21, which is the default value associated here. Finally, you just need to click finish. Once you click finish, you see your projects gets created by default with some default content. Now the features or the UI, whatever you want to have for your app, that you have to create on your own. But before that, let me head over to this directory structure. So on top we have app. Inside it we have manifest. This manifest file the very basic information about the app. This you can consider as the signature of the app, because you specify that what type of theme my app is going to have, what are the, but you can correlate this with the window, that what window my app is going to open to show UI, the services that runs in background, the permissions that you may want to have. Say for example, if your app uses camera, then you can ask for camera permission. If your app uses location permission, then you can ask for location permission. So all those things which is associated with app, you'll find it here with respect to the usage pattern. For example, the permissions, your all the activities, and the theme of app. Even the app icon, all those things are inside manifest. So if you want to check out any person code base that once I open my app, which activity do they are launching, you need to head over to the manifest and check out for this intent filter. So wherever we have this category as launcher, it means that this is the activity that gets launched as soon as user clicks on the app icon. Now let's head over to the code base. So for that we have this Java directory, and com.demo.compose camp is the package name that I gave. Inside this, UI.theme is by default created, where it have color and type. So this is associated with the theme. So you need not to touch this if you want to continue with the existing theme. But in case you want to have your own themes, then do change these things too. But so far, let's leave this as default one. The main thing is main activity here, because this is our launcher activity. As soon as app icon is clicked, it's going to execute this set content. It's going to come to this main activity. And why it's going to do that? That's because in the manifest, we have defined activity as main activity with an intent of launch. That my main activity is going to be the activity which should get launched when I click app icon. So the entry piece of UI that you want to show to the UI as soon as they open app has to be inside this main activity. And we are going to come back to this later on. Let's check out the Android test and test. So if you want to have the instrument test cases, so Android test, you have to write it inside this and inside this Android test and test. So your test cases are written inside this package. You might be seeing this in a bit different color. That's because when you build your project, the final APK file, all these things gets deleted by default. Only those things which you have written inside this package name for the code base gets added to the APK or the app bundle. The rest of test cases gets deleted by default. This is to reduce the app size. And this is optional. If you want to write test cases, you write it. If you don't want to write, then you can ignore. But being the good app developer, you should write test cases. Java generated, you can ignore that. That's just system generated. It depends on the build config we'll see in the Gradle file. But that's not something that you should care about. Next is resource. So if you remember, then while showing the slide for the image, I was talking about the drawable. So inside resource directory, we have this drawable. So all the images that you want to show on UI should be inside this drawable for easy access, because then we can say r.drawable.name of the file. Say for example, if I need to show this QR code, then I can head over to drawable, paste it here, and it doesn't allow underscore, so it means it doesn't allow hyphen, so let me replace this with underscore. So I have this PNG image file. We are going to access this soon. Map is for the app icon. Now, how do you create an app icon? Well, by default, if you see, then we have this Android icon. But in case, say if I don't want this icon, I want something else, then either you can create from the outside directory, the outside place like websites, or on your own on Photoshop, or you could take advantage of Android Studio. Right click on this map, go to new, select image assets, and then this is the place where you can have your app icon. Say for example, I want to have a clip art, and here let me select say the home icon, and let's change this color to a bit reddish. Now let's also change the background color, so click on background layer, let me select color, let's head over to something like this. And let's change this to black color again. Yep. Let's resize this a bit. Okay, I'm good with this. So now I can click on next and finish. Now let me delete all the web. So the file format that you can see is that whatever I've created as a new one is .png, and whatever was system generated one, p. So WebP is a format that is used to have the image file, and this drastically reduced the app size by compressing the image files. So if you have a very large file, say for example if this PNG we have, and if I have to convert this to WebP, then I just need to right click on this, head over to convert to WebP, and then let the default values to be as it is. Click on OK. Now we can see the size difference. that original is 7.7, and if I reduce this, it's not making much difference, rather it is increasing the size. So for this, WebP is not great. Generally, when you have the JPEG file tends to be quite large in size. So for that, you can save the size to a very good extent as compared to the PNG files. So that tool helps you to reduce the size of your app by compressing the image files, because generally this graphics consumes a good amount of memory, mean size. And now let's head over to values. So we are done with drawable, we're done with map. Let's see the values. Now this color resources, this are quite useful if you want to have all your colors at a single place, and then programmatically you can access these values as a color resource, r dot color dot say black, or r dot color dot teal 700. So this is really a great way, because now say for example if you are using this value, the teal color, at multiple places, but instead of putting this inside colors.xml, or the second approach is go to the theme and put it inside color.kt. Colors.xml was the only way available with the existing UI toolkit, but now with Jetpack Compose we have both the ways. Either you put it inside colors.xml or you head over to color.kt. So if you do not put it at any of these places, then individually you need to change those color at multiple places. Again, if you want to change the color, head over to multiple files. But by this way, specifying it to either color.kt or colors.xml, you write it once and use it multiple places. In a similar way, the strings, so whatever string file that you have, you should keep it inside strings.xml. And the reason why it is added here is, say for example, if you want to give support of multiple language, you don't want your app only to be available for English users, but rather for any other language too. Then you can have a different version of string.xml based on that language. And then the system can fetch that string.xml, whatever key which was specified, that remains same, but value keeps on changing based on language to language. So by this way, you provide support of multiple language to your app. Finally, themes.xml. This is a place where we have style, where we specify the theme. So with Jetpack Compose, we are not seeing this a lot, but with the existing UI toolkit, we used to have a very lengthy styles.xml, where we used to specify the theme of app. And then XML is the place where you have the backup rules and data extraction rules. This you can ignore so far. Okay, all good now. The final thing is Gradle. So Gradle
Using a Groovy.
language. Using this, all the dependency that you want to use in your project. For example, if you see build.gradle, you may see Compose UI, Material 3, Tool. So they are all sort of dependency, the libraries that my project is going to use. So whenever you want to add any dependencies which you want to use it in your project or the libraries, build.gradle is a place to add those things, where you specify in case of dependency like implementation, you provide the name and the version. In case the version is outdated, you will see this a bit dark color, and if version is not outdated, you don't see any highlighted color for that. So let me head over to this and let me change this to 1.2.0. version to 1.7.0. Accordingly, let's head to another build.gradle and update the dependency of this individual dependencies too. So let this Gradle to get built first, then I'll update the values for the individual dependencies too.
System.
Now, easiest way to update the version for individual dependency is you put the cursor there and hit Alt Enter. The moment you hit Alt Enter, you see the suggestion that the current one is 1.7.0 and the latest one is 1.9.0. Again, hit Enter to update the dependency. Let me do for all of them. And that's it. Also, let's change our compile SDK to 33.
The latest one. Because I did change the sync
Gradle. Okay.
So we are good to go.
Now let's head on. Now, before I do any changes, because changes in build.gradle with the versions, the first thing that we should do is to run this app and check out if it is building the project or not. Do because of the app version update, it has given any sort of error or everything is working well. In case, if this app gets installed in emulator or the real device, it means that whatever it doesn't have any site dependency and it can build the project. So far it is building project. Then we'll see whether it app in data or not. But let me also talk about how can you, in case if you have the real device, you can head over to the developer option, turn on and connect your mobile through USB. But in case you don't have the physical device or you don't want to try on your personal device, then you also have an option to try out your app later. For that, you need to click on this particular app icon. If you click on that, you see this kind of UI. You need to click on create device. So the moment you create device, it opens up another panel where it lets you to choose what type of configuration you want for the emulator. For example, here you can see I can create emulator for TV, phone, Wear OS, tablet, automotive. My target is phone, so I have so many phone variants. I can select any of them, click on next, and then select which version of Android I want this device to run. API level 33, 32, 31, all the way to API level 22. In case I want this API level 33, click on next. Finally, give the name for the AVD, means the emulator. Leave the default one and click finish. The moment you click finish, you get something like this. Either you start emulator from or run the app by clicking the run icon here. Any one of them is good actually. Okay, let me see again. And here I can see the status as install. So the version that I've updated in build.gradle doesn't have any cyclic dependency which have a potential to stop building the app. But at the same time, you may also see that our app icon got changed from the default Android to this icon. That's because we did the change in MIPMAP and replace the existing icon with this icon. So the app icon also got updated. So as everything is working well, now let's head over to the Jetpack Compose. What is this main activity and what is set content? So main activity, this is actually one of the component. You can consider this as a system component. Through this place itself, whatever UI that you want to show on screen, you initiate those things. So if you see any sort of UI, that's either coming from activity or from a fragment. Well, the fragment concept no longer exists with Jetpack Compose. It's all composable. It means it's all function. So we have single activity, and all the UI component you see is actually in this UI component itself, inside this main activity, through a composable. Set content is a place where all the composable that we are going to show, that it's set on UI. So that's where we have the set content. So the UI element that we want to show on screen, that comes after set content. Well, you need not have to write all these things. Once you create project, you'll see all those things get generated for you. What is going to change is this one. What it generally means is that, so once you create a project, it creates a composable for you. And it is all about setting the theme to your app. So you may see that Compose Camp is the name of the app and theme gets appointed to this, where it contains the code base to set theme for your app. And this is written by default for you. You need not to write these things. So far, whatever you have seen, main activity, on create, set content, this all comes by default. Then surface, greeting, that's not something which we want, so let's delete this. Let's delete this too. So let's create our own UI. Let's try to create a bit of greeting card where we'll have image, then on top of the image we want to have the text. So how can we do those things? So for that we need to create a composable. Well, one of the easiest way to create composable is just type COMP and hit enter. The moment you do that, you see a function annotated with composable comes by default. That's a function template. And you can provide the name of the function, which is nothing but the composable function, because we have annotated this at the rate composable. And in case if I have a normal function, then I should say something like compute result. Now greeting card and compute result, they both are function. It's just that greeting card is a composable function and compute result is a normal function. This even means that none of the UI component is available inside result compute result. That's an ordinary function. And with at the rate composable, it means that the content that I want to show on UI, I have it in this function. Now, in case I want to set the background for the entire screen. So for this, we have is composable. This comes from the UI toolkit. You need not to create this. And if you want to see the source code of it, then just press Ctrl and click on that. You can see the code base for this composable generated. So you need not to do anything with this. But why it is helpful to check out the code base is to know the number of parameters supported by this and what are the default value associated with that. Say for example, here let me say that I want color to be the material theme dot color scheme dot secondary, and I want this for the entire screen. So for that we have modifier. Inside this modifier we have an ability to set, so I can say modifier dot fill max width dot fill max height. It means that occupy the entire width and entire height. But when this is the case, then we also have one shorthand notation that instead of writing fill max width and fill max height, we can say fill max size. Now let's run and check this out. So far, we have a surface which is useful to set the background. We color as secondary theme color. With material 3, we have 3 variants of color: secondary and tertiary. What I said is that to the entire secondary color as the background color. And why it is for the entire? Because there is nothing on top of this. So let's see the color that we are going to get now.
Excuse me, sir, you are not audible.
Okay, am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Great. So let me continue that entire screen share. Okay. So I was on padding and margin. So padding and margin. So these are two different things here. Padding, what we have said so far is margin. Well, you might be seeing this term as padding, but it all depends on the way you call this. And we are going to see that too. But this is two terms that you really need to understand about this. Margin is when you are leaving the space by some margin. Say here it is 36 dp. And padding is instead of leaving by certain margin difference, you are pushing the content by that margin. Here, the white space that you're seeing on top, left, right, and bottom, this is margin. That is why you are seeing this white color space. And if I start writing any text content, then this will start from this grayish boundary. When this goes for padding, it means that UI starts right from the top, and the text which I'm going to write will start after leaving that space towards left, right, top, and bottom. Well, we are going to see that too. So far I have this surface where I have the color and I have the modifier. With the modifier, I specified that occupy the entire width and height by leaving the space of 36 dp towards left, right, top, and bottom. Now let's try to add text. And let me say this as happy birthday rover. And another text, your age is now 5 years. So if I run this, you'll see the default color of text, which is black. And the strange part is both of the text will overlap each other. And what could be the prime reason for this? Well, this is something which I have shown in the slide too, that column and row are the extensively used composable. Now here we haven't specified rows or column. That means we haven't specified about the alignment. Rather, we directly went up with our text composable. So you may see that both are overlapping each other. So how can we fix this? Well, to fix that, we need to put this inside column. So let's create a column composable and put this text here. And instead of the default black color, the reason why you are seeing this text in white color is because of surface. So the moment you set background with surface, the text composability you're going to have inside the surface, that automatically figure it out that what could be the ideal value so that it will be visible to the user too. So with respect to color contrast, it figure it out the appropriate color too. So dark on dark will not be visible. So when the color is dark, you'll see text in white. If color is light as a background color, then you see text color as black in color. Now, as we have the column composable, you may see these two texts are coming one below the other. But not just this. Say, for example, I want the about text to be at the center of the screen and with bigger size. So I can specify the font size. Let me say this as 18.sp. So SP we use for font and DP we use for defining the size, except font size. So font size is given in terms of SP and rest of all the size are given in terms of DP. Then inside this, let's also say that I want this to be of bold in styles. So let's have fonts weight, and I'll say this font weight as extra bold. For this one, let's leave as it is. Now let's rerun our app. Now with this, I'll see that happy birthday rover will again start from the left side, but now the font size will be 18 SP and the style will be quite bold because we have specified this as extra bold. Then your age is now 5 years. This will come as it is because we did not do any change. Well, this type of programming is also called as declarative programming. Why it is called as declarative? Because we are just declaring what do we want. We are not saying how do you set this font size to be 18sp, or how do you set the font to be a bold, or even how do you set the text. Rather, we just give the command that, okay, we want this text with this text particular thing. I want this text to be of 18sp and this to be extra bold. How do you do that? That's taken care by this text composable. This is what declarative programming is. And now you may see that we have this quite bold text and then a normal kind of text below that. So let's do one thing. Let's make this column to occupy the entire width, and also let's do a bit of alignment. So I'll say horizontal alignment as alignment dot center horizontally. What it means is that for this column, occupy the entire width based on the parent. Parent is occupying the entire width and height of the screen by leaving 36 dp towards left, right, top and bottom. So for column also, except those 36 dp which was omitted by the parent, occupy the entire width, and whatever content is available as a children uh, content for this column composable, align them toward the center of the screen, because we have specified that occupy this as alignment dot center horizontally. So you may see that it is coming at the center. And in a similar way, say for example, you want to show some sort of design where user see some image, on click of that you show the original image. Then you may have image, it comes as painter. So let's provide painter resource r dot drawable dot QR code. That QR code is, again, if you remember, then we have added in the drawable. So that's the image. This, let's see how does it come up with this column. And content description, this is for the accessibility. Let me say this as QR code. Now what it means is that instead of these two text, now it will be image, after image text, after this text we have another text. But then for this we are going to do something more. Set the appropriate width and height too, and also we'll try to change the shape of this. So let's see the UI as of now. How does it look like? Okay, so here it is. It doesn't look that great. So this, through the modifier, let's try to set the width and height. So we are going to say that occupy the entire width, and for height be restricted till 240 dp. After that, let's also change the shape. We'll make this as roundable corner shape. So we'll have rounded corner shape. Let's say this is 6. Currently you may see this it's having a rectangular boundaries. So with clip we are changing that rectangular boundary to the rounded shape. And also let this image to fill the width and height based on what we have specified. And for that, even if this has to crop certain part of the image towards left, right, top or bottom, let it do that. For that, let's specify the content scale. Now this image will occupy the entire width, will have the height of 240 dp. The borders that we were seeing before, it was all rectangular in shape. That will be the rounded corner shape of 16 dp each, and the image will occupy the entire width and height that we have specified. For that, even if this has to crop its part, like for the top, bottom, left and right, let it crop the image. And here you can see those things. Let's also do one thing. Let's bring this down a bit. So for that, we have spacer composable. Let me say this as height 48 dp. Spacer is, it just leave the space. That's it. So now from the top, it will leave a bit of space. That space is of 48 dp. And then for this, let's add padding. So we have done two changes. So from the top, there is space of 48 dp, and for the image, we have added a padding of 16 dp. So here you can see that. So earlier we were having this space on top. Earlier we were not having the space on top. Now we have a bit of space. And after that, we also have a padding associated, where we have added padding after clip. So we can see that this does leave a space of 16 dp towards all the side, but it lost the clip, the rounded corner, because we have added padding after clip. Now let's add padding before clip and check out. So the way you use this padding makes the difference too. Now what's going on here? So earlier, this padding, when added after clip, what it was doing is that this image was starting right from the beginning. So we still had the clip, we still had the rounded corner. But then what we did is that we overcome this clip, so which was starting right from the beginning. We did a margin work there, and we took this, like, we started from here. So the rounded shape which was doing right from the beginning, that got cropped, and we saw that the image was leaving the space towards 16 from left, right, top and bottom, and was not showing the rounded corner to us. That was because that clip was starting from the beginning. But now after padding, what we did is that you first leave the space and then do the rounded corner shape. Earlier it was like, don't leave the space and then do the padding. So we were not seeing the corner shape. So this is where the sequence plays a very important role too. Now, this was all about how can you get started with this. But again, before I do conclude this one, the one more final thing is, if I want to change this image by clicking on this, what should I do by that time? So for that, I'm not going to change as of now, but let me show you how can you make anything clickable is by adding clickable composable. And then whatever action which you want to take, initialize it to the object and appropriately change the value. So you can make any UI component clickable by adding this dot clickable there to the modifier. So that was all about how can you get started with Android Studio and Composable. So the pathways that's created by Google, you'll find all the relevant documentation. So if you haven't gone through, means if you haven't walked through along with me, it doesn't matter because the pathways that's created by Google is again going to have a step-by-step process. You can check out those pathways and then look for the code base, and also the thing which you have to do is all written there in the pathways. Now, any questions you guys have? So no questions.
Thank you so much, sir, for taking out your precious time for the session and sharing such insightful things about Compose Camp.
Thank you.
So, guys, we have a small quiz for you all. I will be sharing the link in the chat section.
So, guys, the quiz will be live shortly, and you can just click on the link in the chat box. There are 10 questions. Each question is a mandatory question, and you need to mark answers for all the questions before the final submission. Top two students who will have the highest score and will be the fastest among you all will be rewarded with goodies and swags from our side. So, all the best. And you all can now click on the link. The link for the same quiz is live in the chat box. Once you complete your quiz, you can mention a yes or done in the comment section and can leave the meeting.
Anshika, I would like to address your question. For pathways, we will have a small meet or another session, and I will be explaining all the structure of Compose Camp in that.